at that.
Progress.
All right. So welcome. Nice little slide because it shows multiple things that can be done using incident management as a concept and using incident management software. So incident management software, some of you might be familiar with. We use it here at the college. If we want to create a ticket to get some work done, they're using incident management software. So I would just summarize those like 6 things there by saying, by using incident management software, we're able to have a process where these benefits come, right? So, well, actually there's I guess you could say features and then benefits. So we use rules and standards and governance and regulations. And from that, we can determine what our root causes. By doing that, we can better improve our systems. And so our incident management is part of ITSM, service management. I'm sort of emphasizing the management part there. And in management, we like to measure things and we like to improve things. So continuous improvement. So let's talk a little bit about that. Incident management, what is it? As I mentioned, it's part of ITSM, Information Technology Service Management. It's focused on returning the performance of your organization as quickly as possible. Returning, why do we have to return it? We have to return it to its before incident, the way it was before that. So an incident, well, I think we got a slide on that. What is an incident? Yes. What is an incident? An incident is where you're going to have an outage, we would say. Here we call it a disruption, an unexpected disruption. An outage means that something that you had, which is part of your IT, some hardware or some software, is not performing the way it should be. Okay, that would be an outage. So we could call it a disruption or a reduction in the quality of service. That's an outage or an incident on a single basis. Now, we've talked about this in a previous lecture where we talked about the difference between incidents and problems. Do you remember that? Yeah. All right, so ITIL, remember, that's that library that has a bunch of processes in it. One of the processes is incident management. And so it has a nice definition of an incident there. Remember, ITIL also has a specific definition for a problem. But here we are here, we're giving some examples. There could be a failure of a configuration item. Now, the point there is that we might not recognize an outage. Things seem to be working okay, but maybe there's some hardware that's not functioning. It hasn't shown up in the actual performance of our systems, but it will. You know what I mean? It's still an incident, even though we're not seeing a failure at the moment. So the example here is you got a mirror set. It's got multiple disks in it. One of the disks fails. Still seems to work, as you know, because it's got lots of redundancy built into it, and so it's still working. So from the point of view of performance of that system, seems to be okay. But down the track, it's going to be suboptimal. Does that make sense? So that is an outage or an incident. There's lots of other incidents that are mentioned here with our printers, Wi-Fi, etc. Let's just leave it at that. All right, so what are some benefits of incident management? Hopefully all of these things will make sense to you. Resolution time there, we're talking about from the time that somebody notices there's an outage until the time that they have that solved. That's our resolution time. Prevention of incidents, well, how is that? Because if we know what our incidents look like because we're recording them, and because we're actually making changes to the system through problem management, then that's going to prevent incidents in the future. Improve customer experience, obviously. The customer experience is degraded when they have an outage. Reduction and elimination of downtime for the same reason. Data fidelity, fidelity means trueness, true. So is the data being corrupted by some outage that we have? That's quite possible. And so by reducing those outages, we're going to make the data more true. And so we've got a lot of points here that we're going to look at each individually. There's a bunch of slides for each of these things. So we're going to talk about each of those. Well, I don't think I need to say them here because I'm going to say them all in the next few slides. So the first one there is to identify the outage, identify the incident. Well, the obvious way that that could happen would be that the customer comes and tells us. We're going to call that a user report. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean like a report like you write in your English class. A customer report could be they just ring you up on the phone. They could walk in and talk in front of you. They could send you an email, or they could have some other way of doing it on the portal. That's a user report from the customer. Manual identification, instead of the customer identifying the incident, this is where the help desk professional, the service desk professional, they identify it could be that they just noticed something in the network or the systems that's wrong, and so they just create a ticket without even mentioning a customer, because it's just something that they noticed in the system. When we say system monitor solutions, especially in network software associated with your network operating systems, you can have system monitoring software, which will automatically detect, it has sensors in the network, will automatically detect when there's some instability in a router or a switch or any other device on the network. So that could be automatically reported back to your system. So that's another way that it could you could get your identification. So again, the first thing that we do is we identify that there's an outage incident, and the next thing that we do is that we need to log it. Log it means to create a ticket, and so you could have a ticket that's created automatically, but more likely or more often, the ticket is going to be created by your help desk professional, your service desk professional. So they're going to have access. Now, customers can also go to self-service and create a ticket. But more often, we would think, at least, that our service desk professional, they're going to create a ticket. And the point of the next couple of slides is that it's not just in a haphazard way. Creating a ticket, you need to actually think about how you do that, so that you create it so that it would be acted upon in the most efficient and productive way. And so that means that we have to get these things right. If that ticket is going to be useful, we have to capture these data in the best way. So when we say the best way, that doesn't mean a big sort of essay of thousands of words. The best way is actually going to be few words that are clear and mean something. All right. So what we want is something short and concise and says exactly what it is. So that means that you, as a service desk professional, you have to be pretty good at actually looking at and seeing exactly what is happening, so that that is all recorded in the ticket. So this is what Service Desk Plus. Service Desk Plus is a Hewlett-Packard product. Service Desk Plus is the one that we're going to use. Now, when I say we're going to use, it's a professional system, and we do a little bit of a sneaky thing here at the college, university, is that we take advantage of the fact that they offer a free trial. A free trial is like, I don't know, it's not long. It's 20 days or 30 days or something like that, which just happens to fit into the time frame that we've got in this course. So a couple of days ago, the other instructor, Mr. Hassan, he created a service desk group for us, and we have a bunch of accounts there that we're going to use. Now we'll have full features there, because the idea is this is as if we were an interested company that wants to move over to use that software, which is all on the cloud, right? So we don't have to install anything on servers or anything like that. It's all on the cloud. We can actually use their system, try it out, and then we like it, and so we pay for it. But, you know, of course, we'll, at the end of it, we'll say, oh, thanks very much. Our course is over now. See you next semester. Yeah, you get the idea, right? When maybe we'll do the same thing again. Thing is, we start running out of email addresses at some point. Anyway, so it looks like this. You see there's a bunch of things that we have to do when we create a ticket. We have to choose what kind of request it is. There's an incident we could choose. We could also choose a service request. The service request, remember, is different than an incident, because a service request is asking, to install something. You're actually adding some features. You're not. It's not an outage. Now the impact, you'll see a slide about that later. That has to do with, how important is this to the organization that we fix this now? So the impact is about how broad that is. It's a single person, or does it include? Does this affect the entire organization? And the urgency, that has to do with how fast does the customer want this fixed? And usually the customer wants it fixed like now. And so we're going to be putting urgency as high on a lot of these. That doesn't mean that it'll be a high priority. So we have this concept of a priority. We get to set that priority. We can, as the service desk professional, we can set that. And when we do that, we also take into account what is the impact and what is the urgency. So if impact and urgency are high, then we would expect our priority to be high. Now notice we're going to record the name of the person who's requesting this. Notice this one here has got this little person there beside it. That is probably got from the Active Directory on the network, from the network operating system that they're using. So that could be there. So in other words, saying that you could be integrated, your service desk management system can be integrated with the other systems that we got. And then we've got a nice little description of what the problem is. And that is where we think very carefully. So we got some other things there. We can select the technician. Maybe there's a particular technician that we know would be the best one to handle this. Categories and subcategories, we're going to talk about all that in the next couple of slides for sure. And yes, two things down here at the bottom. This is, we do need to be careful with this. What is the subject? Should be descriptive. We should be able to look at that subject and have an idea of what actually is the problem in, and what actually we should be doing to fix it. And likewise, a little bit more detail in the description. So that's not too much, is it? I think that this is the type of thing that we could all handle, and you're all going to have a chance to do. Now, I'm not going to ask you to do the lab now. What this is showing is drop-down boxes that are on that page that I just showed you. These relate to the page from the previous slide. And so you can see that you get to choose what kind of request is it. Is it an incident or a service request? You get to choose what is the status of the ticket. So obviously, if a ticket is closed, no further action will go to that ticket. That ticket doesn't get deleted or anything. We have to keep it because we want to refer back to it at some point for statistics, so that we can improve what we're doing, but also as a record if the customer has the ongoing problem. But we can see we're usually going to open the ticket at the start. During our time with the ticket, we might use these other things. It could be that we can't do anything on this ticket right now because we have to wait for some approvals, or something from the customer has to come, or we have to get some parts or something like that. And so we can use these other things for that. You could cancel a ticket because, well, maybe the customer called back and said, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's fixed." We still have recorded that ticket, but we could cancel it. The mode that has to do with how we're contacted by the customer and how we're going to work with them. Okay, so I mentioned their Active Directory. If you could have, and you can see that here, right? You can see that there, that's sort of indicating that we have some integration with our Active Directory on our network operating system. So that if we're using an internal help desk, internal service desk, what I mean by internal service desk is like here at the college, the university. Like here at the university, internal service desk, all the customers are in the organization. So because they're all in the organization, we have details about them, right? They're all registered on our systems. And so we could have their details in an Active Directory, as opposed to an external service desk, like if you're running Qatar Airways thing, or, or Ooredoo, then you don't know your customers. You know they're coming to you, and you wouldn't do it that way. All right, so as it says here in the subject, I did already mention this. We should be careful with our subject. Be very clear about it. Okay, you know, we might not be using the words that the customer uses, because the customer says, "Well, I can't print," but we know that the problem is, well, it's because there's a network issue there on that router. And so we would be more specific in our subject. We would say something about the router and then the not printing. So the idea there is that in the subject name title, we need to be as specific as we can so that the user can, so that the technicians will be able to use it. And this long, I'm not going to go through all that because it's kind of long, but the idea is just what I've said. You know, what we ended up with is something not very specific. Okay, the customer told us this rambling thing and we just put it all down without getting into without doing a little bit of analyzing and deciding what is the actual incident and making it clearer and more succinct. That's what we trying to do. Okay, so the description is about that as well. Should be enough details. It shouldn't be rambling. All right. So maybe in your description you could use some short sentences, but it shouldn't be, as I said, it's not an essay. It's just something which describes what it is in a way that could be understood quickly. Make sure, so that's what we mean there by make sure the details are clear and short. Don't make an essay out of it. All right, it's not an essay. You can put some attachments to it. So attachments might be things like logs from your network. Could be some images nowadays. So we have a lot of things. Now, the idea here about the log them all, what we mean by that, anything that we do as a service to our customers, we need to record that in the incident management system. We need to record it with its own unique ticket. And when I say with its own unique ticket, you could have a situation where the customer says, I got A, B, C, and D is wrong, is problem. Well, you don't make a ticket that says customer called and they needed A, B, C, and D. You actually have to make a ticket for A ticket for B, and a ticket for C, because they're different, right? And different things are going to have slightly different solutions. You need to make a ticket for each of them. The idea here that's got that is just to make sure that you're aware that everything that you do for the customer is recorded in the ticket, the incident management system. And why? Well, why? Well, maybe the customer is going to come back 2 weeks later. They're going to say, oh, you know, that thing that you did for me, we got a problem again. And you didn't make a ticket. You know what I mean? They're going to think that you guys are, you know what I mean? You know, you're, it doesn't have a professional look. Let's just put it that way. And the thing is, you're letting the customer down on that. Every ticket, every incident needs to have a ticket. Right, so we're moving through this okay, I think. Let's have a look. Right, so with the tickets, and again, can you remember the slide I showed you, which showed what the incident management system has? Remember there was a thing for categories. So we have this idea of categories and subcategories. Now you can have too many or not enough categories and subcategories. The idea being that we have enough categories so that we can divide things out and make it more streamlined, but not so many that we have to sort of hunt and fish through, you know, a big long list, you know, needle in a haystack thing. It's got to be something that we can look at quickly and see what it is we're looking at and choose that thing. So we have this idea of categories and subcategories, and yeah. So the slide here is asking us what the rhetorical question here is, why would it be good to have categories and subcategories? And the rhetorical answer is that, well, we can make reports that where we group all of the things that are of the same category together, and we can get some statistics. We can see if certain categories of things are causing more incidents than others. The other thing is, as it says, automated assignment. If we just put in a particular type of issue, that particular type of issue has a category. And so it's automatically assigned to it. Now the SLA that it talks about there, prioritizing in the SLA stands for service level agreement. The service level agreement is like a contract between the service desk and its customers. And that service level agreement, what service level means is that we agree to give you this level of service at this price, or we can give you this level of service at that price. So there are different levels of a service level agreement, and they will be recorded, and it'll be things like, for incidents, for this particular type of incident, the resolution time will be 1 day, something like that. For this particular type of incident, the resolution time will be 2 hours. You get the idea. So that will be written into the service level agreement. And there could very well be penalties for the service desk if the service level agreement terms are broken. And so that's important. So the categorization is going to help us with that. So this is a sort of snapshot of that first slide where it showed the page. Okay, so some of the drop down boxes. What we have here is created for us. This is what Mr. Hassan has done for us, because he created this little system for us using Service Desk Manager. And you see that we've got these major categories here: computer hardware, software, general, etc. Then subcategories. So for computer hardware, we've got 2 different subcategories, desktops and laptops. And then we have different, now these are items that that relate to desktops and desktops only. So how you should look at this slide is, starting here, we choose our category. Then from here, we choose our subcategory. Then within that category, we choose a type of incident or service that is going to be done on that. So those are important for the tickets, according to Hassan. He's done this quite a bit. So the tech, that is the service desk professional, they're usually going to assign a category and a subcategory to each ticket, and also the actual work that has to be done. Sometimes the ticket is going to be generated by the user if they go to a self-service website or something. You can get tickets from a self-service website, in which case they may or may not choose the category. It could be that the category is sort of just limited for them. So we've got this idea of open and closed. That was also shown in the tickets in the previous couple of slides. The idea being that an open ticket is, the clock is on it, I guess we would say. An open ticket, the clock is ticking and we're expecting some activity. A closed ticket, that means we're not looking at it to do any more work. The only reason that we keep that is we need it for record of what's happened. As it says there, how many category levels? We could have too many categories, or we could have too few categories. So probably, as I was saying, the way to do this is we should be able to see all the categories at once so that we can make a quick decision. And then we should be able to see all the subcategories at once, so we make a quick decision from that. If we do it like that, we'll be able to use our system more efficiently. If you have too many, then it's hunt and pick, and you're going to waste time doing it. If you have too few, then you're not getting any separation. Okay, so I think that's all. Why, you think I've gone far enough? Here we have something. So here's a nice example of that. We have a category here. This is just one category, system admin as a category, as opposed to some other categories. As I move through this slide, you'll see another category come up. But within that category, we've got these subcategories, and I think they're easy to see, right? Very easy. You're going to be able to choose between them. Is it an account subcategory? Is it an email, or is it a share folder for systems admin? And then, for account activities, these are the type of things that we do with accounts. We reset passwords, we add new accounts, we add temporary accounts, etc. So that would make it very easy for that person who's the service desk professional to just go there and choose the item from the right account. By choosing new employee account, automatically that is from the account subcategory, and it's from the systems administrator category. I think I've got another one to come up. Oh, I think my so we got an issue with slow response. Yeah, I guess there was only one thing on there. Okay, so you're going to look at a ticket and how we're going to classify it, I guess. Your turn, as it says. Look at the support team, help desk, and desktop. I got a couple of sort of things that will work in slides for that. So you've got, these are different. The word shouldn't be sport, it should be support. So we can differentiate between desktops and laptops, and also in software. Come on. So I mentioned this in a previous slide. We work from category through to subcategory through to item. So in the previous slide, I said start on the left and work your way through to the right. We start at the category, then the subcategory. Oh, you want to watch that video? You know what? I'm going to leave that for you. You can watch videos on your own. I don't do videos in my class. This is the only video I do. All right. So here's another example of a category, and we've broken that down into 4 subcategories, and each of those has an item. When you choose one of these items, automatically that will be represented by its category. What do you think? And here's another one. So here's the separation that's answering that question a minute ago. We have 2 different categories here, our computer hardware and our computer software. With the computer hardware, we've got warranty and non-warranty for desktops and for laptops. So the desktops and laptops are separated further by whether they're under warranty or not. Then our items are listed for each of them. Likewise for the software, that's broken down into 3 subcategories, and then each of those categories has things assigned to it. So I hope you see the idea that an incident comes in, we would have to choose, is it hardware or is it software? If it's hardware, okay, so is it a desktop or is it a laptop? Okay, so it's a laptop. So is it under warranty or is it not under warranty? It's under warranty. Okay, so what is one of the problems? This will actually make it easier for you to sort of understand the ticket itself by doing the categorization. And it'll certainly make it easier for the technicians who get assigned it. So prioritization, I mentioned this a minute ago, that we have a kind of a couple of things that we look at when we look at our prioritization. So prioritization is going to be from low to high. Depending on the prioritization, that's how quickly and how much resources we will put towards solving that incident. We need to look at the urgency and the impact before we assign the priority. So let's talk about those. That's going to come up. Impact and urgency are required to understand what is priority. Okay, so as we say here, we actually have drop-down menu in our ticket that allows us to choose these. So look at the impact. Can you please see how that works? It works from user, which is an individual, to group, which is a few more people, to the department, which is a few more people, to the business. So we see that we have this expanding impact. And I guess you could say, as more people are impacted, as more people are impacted by the outage, then that's going to make that more of something that we need to get onto, right? I guess you could use the word more important. Or the impact is greater, the greater the number of people. Then the urgency has to do with how quickly do we need to fix this in the mind of the customer. Okay, so The customer's going to tell you. You're going to say, oh, you know, next week's okay. Or they're going to say, now, you know, I'm pulling my hair out, you know, I need this now. And you have to take their word for it, right? I guess you'd say in the modern language, we'd say that they're speaking their truth, which you couldn't understand. So we accept their word for it. We don't try and second guess them on that, but we still have we still can assign the priority, and we can assign the priority after we consider the impact. If we say, well, this is only affecting this one user, yeah, they're really, really upset about it, but I've got this other thing out here that's affecting the whole business. So that has got to have a higher priority. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's how that's going to go. And this diagram here shows that nicely, I think. So you see the stuff in red. The thing in red, you see that we have something which has a very high level of urgency, and it has a very high level of impact. It's impacting the entire business, and it needs to be fixed now. So that's our critical priorities, and those are where we're going to assign the most resources in the shortest time. Whereas down here, we got some stuff here. For example, down here, this green stuff, there's a low urgency and a low priority. Yeah, you know, we'll get to it when we have enough time. So what do we do when we're talking to our customers about this? Customer says it's kind of urgent. We might have a lot of stuff going on, and we don't just, you learned this when we were talking about the 1201 subject. I think, was it 1201? 1360? Oh, 1360. Oh, whatever. We don't sort of say no to the customer. We don't say, no, sorry, we can't get to you. What we would say instead is something like this. You know, usually we do we would be with you. We'd have somebody with you in an hour. Actually, at the moment, our technicians are really, really busy. And so we expect that it'll be about 2 hours. You know, we're affirming the fact that their incident is important to us, but we're also giving the realistic idea of what is happening and what is possible. Don't overpromise. All right, we don't say, oh yeah, we'll have that now, because they'll just keep ringing you back, right? Every 5 minutes. You said now. So if it's 2 hours, then tell them 2 hours. Don't tell them it's going to be 1 hour, and then they're all disappointed. Actually, better, and this might sound counterintuitive, better to under-promise and over-deliver, because then you get delighted customers. You say, you know, you think that the technicians can be there in an hour and a half, so you tell them 2 hours. And then the technician shows up in an hour and a half and like, oh, you're early. Instead of they show up at 2.5 hours and, oh, you know where you've been. You know what I mean? It's a totally different sort of aspect. And you have to understand, you know, we're dealing with human beings, and they attach some personal meaning to these things. So as it says here, we could have times that are really, really busy, in which case we're going to have to manage that with the customer. You have to let them know that this is the reality. It is important to us, and but this is how we're going to do it. There is something there about the SLA. Remember, the SLA is about the contract between the service desk and the customer. Don't make unrealistic promises. I think I just said that in the previous slide. As it says here in red, it's one of the main reasons that customers get angry, because you promised it yesterday, and you know, here we are, and it's not here. Better if you knew that it's going to take 2 days, you tell them it's going to be 2 days. Okay, and so we got some more on that. This is just that thing. I don't think we can do this over the phone. We'll get our technicians to you. Usually it'll be about an hour. At the moment, they're really busy. Might be 2 hours. Same idea, right? So I'm not going to go through all of that, but it's just the idea is that we're bringing reality to them, but in a way that they know that their issue is important to us. Oops. Oop. Oh, so how are we doing? Maybe I'll finish all these slides today. You guys will kill me then. Oh, it's all right. We'll go until because I speak fast, right? But you understand it, right? That's the main thing. All right, so we got some special tickets here. Aging tickets, ticket status, pending and waiting. Maybe we can talk about them just briefly. So the aging ticket, I mentioned to you before that ticket, if it's an open ticket, then the clock is on it, right? Clock is on it. And so if the clock is on it, it's going to age. Am I right with this? Yeah, there's another video for you to watch. So the idea of the aging ticket is that it's got maybe to the point where according to what we have in our service level agreement or what we've communicated to our customer, there should be some result by now. This ticket is aging. So if that happens, we have to do something about it. We could escalate the ticket. So we could we could update it, as it says there. We might have to update the ticket and say, look, this ticket is aging out because of this, and this reason. And every time we update a ticket like that, we need to communicate with the customer. Now, it could be that our system automatically communicates with them, or it could be that we just have to call them up and say, look, these things are happening with your ticket. Now, the ticket pending, it could be that we've got a ticket and we're not actually doing any work on it at the moment. It's pending because we're waiting for something. There's something beyond our control, I guess you could say, that we have to wait for before we can do the ticket. And I hope the idea of work in progress makes sense to you. That is, somebody is on the ticket and it's in their hands. And so while it's a work in progress, we probably handed that off to another level in the service desk, and we're sort of waiting for them to get back to us. These are all open tickets, as it says. Now, pending are over there. As it says, we could be pending approvals or pending the customer. What do we got here? Pending approval. Maybe the ticket requires resources that the people in the service desk, you don't have the authority to apply. And so you need to get the authority to apply those resources to solve that incident. Maybe it's a service request. And so you need to go and wait for that approval. Pending the customer, maybe the customer and you have opened a ticket and there's something that the customer has to bring you before you can solve it. So that would be pending the customer. Other pendings, yeah, could be waiting for parts, whatever. Incident routing. So the idea of incident routing is who is going to solve the incident? Who is going to solve the incident? So maybe we can't solve it. The person who answered the phone, that's a level 1 in the service desk, they can't solve it at this moment. Who do they send it to? Now, it could be we just send it to them based on the category. So that's a good reason to put those categories in there, right? So that kind of almost automatically we can send that ticket to the right place. So when it says ticket queue, we'll have different ticket queues according to the different categories. The ticket queues will be built by the categories. Escalations, I got some notes on that, but escalations means that we need to bring more resources into solving this ticket. And so that's an escalation. So it could go to the manager of the service desk, or it could go to somewhere else that has those. Notifications, there's 2 different notifications. We notify our managers and we notify our customers. On call, look at that. On call means that you might be at home during the weekend, but you're at the service desk, but you have to keep your phone on because maybe you have to be able to solve service desk problems. So here we have a situation where we have a ticket and the people in the service desk cannot handle the ticket at level 1. And so they're going to choose one of these groups to solve that ticket. And so maybe they'll choose the application team, and maybe they'll just choose a particular technician to do it because they know that that technician can do it. So we have those choices in the HP Service Manager. All right, so a particular queue, you could have a queue for an individual, or you could have a queue for a team. And as I said, that might be assigned according to the category. You guys are getting kind of tired, right? So I'm going to ask you now, can you persevere? Do you want to take a break and then come back and we'll finish? Or do you want to keep going? Take a break? Please, let's take a break. All right. So I'm gonna stop now then.